So I'd just like to welcome everyone to today's Chamber Live event. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of March, 2021. I'm always saying that just to make sure I've got it in my mind, what day it is, what month we're in, and even what year we're in, because it is getting very, very Groundhog Day-ish now, isn't it? So anyway, but the end is hopefully tonight. And obviously we've got the budget tomorrow, which we'll come on to at the end of today's event and see what we're expecting from that. We're also going to be touching a little bit on some of the things we're doing for our young people, and also introducing another one of our partner companies in a minute as our first guest. If we just remind everyone, please, to mute your mics, just so we don't get any odd noises, whistles and doors going and all sorts of things in the background, and everyone can hear what's going on. We are recording the meeting, the event today, as ever, and we'll be getting that out on our YouTube channel and publishing it as a podcast as well within the next 24 hours. So if there's something you've heard or want to just catch up on again, or even tell people about them, please feel free to do that. We've got the chat box facility going, and I know certainly the one a couple of weeks ago we had some really good questions from people there that hopefully we answered. If you've got any questions you want to ask our speakers, anything that they've mentioned today or anything in general, obviously relevant to what we're talking about, then please feel free to put that in there and we'll get through as many of those as possible. So we'll be finishing no later than 11:45, but usually we're rounding off around about 25 to, sometime like that, just to give you some sort of idea for your own timing. So without any further ado, what I'd like to do now is ask Leanne Gardner just to introduce our first speaker. Leanne.
Hello everyone. I'm Leanne Gardner. I'm the Membership Events and Partner Delivery Manager, and I'm pleased to announce that Greater Manchester Chamber is now partnered with Marston Holdings Engage EV. Engage EV are an electric vehicle charging specialist, covering the whole process from initial design to delivery for both commercial and residential clients across the UK. We'll be working with Engage EV, helping businesses and individuals drive towards net zero. We have Sally Nolan, Director of Business Development, along with Charlie Jardine from EO, who are an EV partner of Engage EV. I'll now pass back to Chris to discuss further. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Leanne, and good morning, Sally, and hello, Charlie, as well. Thanks very much for joining us today. Sally, what one for you, really? I mean, obviously, interest in EV is higher than ever. But where did people begin with the journey to electric vehicles? You're just on mute, Sally.
One second.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you.
Okay. Yeah, it wouldn't let me mute then. I don't know why. Obviously didn't want me to. Yeah, that's a really good question. And I only got into electric vehicles around 18 months ago, so it wasn't my background at all. So I'm still very much on a learning curve myself as to the expanse and the ever-changing world of EV. And no doubt you'll have noticed over the past sort of 12 to 18 months, the TV adverts, the billboards, the radio, everything is driving EV at the minute. It's very rare that you'll see a TV advert now for anything diesel or petrol-based. So that just is indicative that, it's happening. It's not a question of, if, it's when, and the time is now. It's happening now. The Manchester Clean Air Zone is coming into force over the next few months. So now is really the time to start thinking about it and start acting. The first port of call, as when you're investing in anything, is obviously research. So you wouldn't go into a car showroom without looking at, make, model, thinking about your budget. It's the same thing when you're going into EV. There's so much out there. You can either have what we call a plug and play. So if you're just looking for something in your house, you can have a very, very basic model, right through to the very end model, which is like a rapid charger. Most of the chargers, Charlie will get onto this shortly about the differences in all of the chargers, but they go right through to rapid chargers. They also have smart technology on them, so you can get feedback, you can have monitoring capabilities, you can set your own charges, that kind of stuff. So right from your very basic model to the very end of, having all the bells and whistles. So you need to think about how you're going to utilize this product. So what 3 things I would think about is, firstly, is what's your motivation? So is it that, your husband or wife has just parked upon the driveway with an EV car and you've not got a charger, so you need one fitted pretty quickly? Is it that, when you're on your Zoom calls with your employees, is it the talk of the town? Is everyone saying, oh, Bill in HR has got an EV car, I'm looking at getting one? Is it something that you're going to need to get in your offices because you're hearing these conversations and it's happening? Or do you have a fleet of vehicles that are going to be impacted on the clean air zone that's coming into force? They're going to be hit with these levies and these charges very quickly, and they're going to mount up. So a lot of companies are now trying to move their fleet to EV. So those would be 2 of the questions. First one is, what's your motivation? The second question is, how do you want to utilize it? Like I said about the difference in product. Do you want a plug and play and it's just plug it and drive off? Or do you want to have that monitoring capability? Do you want to be able to set charges? Do you want your employees to be able to use it for free, but visitors to have to pay? You can give RFID cards. There's all kinds of things you can do around charging and monetizing the actual EV charger. The third question, again, would be sort of your control. How much control over it do you want? Do you want daily reporting? Do you want to be able to see how many of your staff are using it, how long they're using it for? So just to reiterate, the 3 questions would be, what's your motivation? What's it going to be used for? And how much control do you want over it? And once you've done all of that research and have an idea of what it is you're doing and why you're getting into EV, then you can come to someone like us. We have relationships with all the major manufacturers, EO being one of them. We have relationships with grounds work teams. So if you need additional electric cables running, we can assist in that. We go right from the very beginning of doing feasibility studies for councils or small businesses, medium-sized businesses, everybody, right through to the very end of helping you complete those CPOs, so charge point operating, back office monitoring systems, including obviously the installation in between. So right, the whole process we can do, and we can advise along the way as to, what's the best product, where's it best to place the EV chargers in and around your business or your home. So yeah, if you come to, obviously we're not the only people on the market that do this, but we can do the whole process from start to finish. So yeah.
And it's something that's obviously, it's not brand new. This has been around for some time, but again, more and more people now are beginning to look at this as that only alternative, really, isn't it? And again, we've had the message from government that production of diesel and petrol vehicles will see till they get back to 2030, which is not that far off. It's less than 10 years, and you've got those driving forces now, haven't you, to bring it forward.
Yeah, and every day, I mean, like I say, I've only got into it in the last 18 months. So prior to that, I was very much ignorant to EV. But every day now, there's something in the news about them changing their deadlines. They want to move things nearer so that we can get to carbon sort of net free sooner. There's all sorts of things coming out in the press on a daily basis now as to how much they really are driving this.
Yeah, and it is important because obviously your bit is the key bit, because it's all very well you can turn up in a brand new electric vehicle, but if you've got no means to power it, then it ain't going to be much use. So you're a fundamental part of the whole picture.
Yeah, the bit that's missing at the minute, everyone seems to be getting it driven in that it's happening. It's the infrastructure that's missing. So a lot of councils are really sort of chomping at the bit to start getting that into place, because the infrastructure just isn't there at the minute around the UK.
Yeah, and Sharon has just mentioned that as well. It is the infrastructure. It's like a lot of things in this country, isn't it? You can point it back to the infrastructure in years of people just sat back, not really bothered about it. All of a sudden, bang, the demand suddenly goes through the roof, and everyone's going, why haven't you been doing it?
Everyone has a great idea, but they don't think about how they're going to do it. So, yeah.
I'm just going to ask now about some of the differences in product availability. You mentioned there about the basic sort of simple plug-in right through to the feedback bit where your vehicle backs as a sort of battery, really, doesn't it? I think Charlie's going to answer these. Is that right, Sally? Yeah. So we just ask Charlie. Charlie, what are the differences in product availability that you can offer people? Hello?
Sorry, you had to unmute me. I couldn't do it.
All right, sorry. Hi, Charlie.
Hi,
Okay.
how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So again, it's just about the different types of
sure.
products that are available. Because again, to a lot of people, this is probably the first time they're ever hearing about some of these things.
Yeah, so I think if you look at, obviously petrol, diesel is very different. EVs, the mentality really is you try and install a charger wherever the vehicle parks up for more than an hour. So the nice thing about electric is you can actually have a filling station at your home. So most of charging is being done at home or the workplace. So obviously at home you park up typically overnight, so that's 8 to 10 hours. At work you might park up for 8 hours. So you've got plenty of time to recharge the batteries. And so if you look at how are people charging in the UK, again, most of that is being done at home and work. Yeah. Broadly speaking, about 80 to 90% is home and work, and then 10% of charging is being done on the public charging network. I think if you look at and then you speak to people looking to buy an electric car, the perception is very different. I feel like I can't buy an electric car because I don't see charging points in petrol stations and car parks. And the reality is you're going to use those public chargers very rarely, but it's that chicken and egg. So I need confidence in the public network to allow me to buy an electric car, but actually ultimately I'll end up charging at home or work. In terms of different charging products, so a home charger looks quite different to a charger in a public car park or petrol station. So a home charger might be, if you choose our product, which you should, is about the size of your iPhone, probably two iPhones. Small. It comes with a 7 kilowatt power rating, which basically gives you 20 to 25 miles of recharging per hour. Obviously, you're partly limited at home by the amount of power you've got at your house. So you can't have a big, great rapid charger at your home. You've got a small amount of power. So a small charger, 7 kilowatt is 32 amps. So it's typically about half your available electricity supply at home. But 20 to 25 miles of recharging per hour is plenty, considering you're parked up for 8 to 10 hours at a time. Mm-hmm. If the average daily mileage per person is less than 40 miles a day, obviously you've got plenty of time to recharge. So home chargers, kind of small, 7 kilowatt, workplace chargers, normally you see the 7 kilowatt or the 22. They're bigger boxes just because they go a bit faster. But same principle. What is very different is the charging points you'll see at petrol forecourts. So they do look like fuel pumps. They're kind of 6 feet tall and a couple of feet wide, and they charge your car within 20 to 30 minutes. So hence the size, and it's actually a quite a large expense.
Yeah. There's a question there from Sharon about how much it costs to charge an EV, and Brian's put down it costs him about £3 at home, and that gives him about 150 miles and things. And again, it's a different way of viewing things, isn't it? Because it's always about like you mentioned there, 20, 25 miles per hour top up charge. Old school of thinking with a sort of petrol vehicle is you're probably thinking, that's not enough, but it's actually what you need for most people on a daily basis, around those things, those sort of figures and things. So it's just getting that mindset, I think, as well in the right place as well. It does need a different way of thinking about these things, and I think it's important though that cost bit there is quite important as well.
Yeah, Chris, I was going to say there's some great apps now that you can have on your iPhone. There's one called Zap Map and Plug Charge, where you can actually see where the stations are, the ones local to you. So when I'm going a longer distance, like my brother lives down in the Cotswolds, if I'm going down there, there's lots of charging points you can see on your phone at a glance, wherever they are. And they're mostly on the motorways and so on, they're fast chargers. You'll pay a bit more pence per kilowatt hour, but as long as you plan your journey a bit more, then there's nothing stopping you doing 400 or 500 miles.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's great. And that's so important as well, because going back a few years and we started to do quite a bit of work on this at the chair, we had the whole sort of range anxiety bit and one thing, that's virtually non-existent now with a lot of the newer models coming out where full charge, you get equivalent to a sort of petrol diesel vehicle, and then it's just that charging thing. They're getting more numerous and things. Obviously, what we're looking at here is things around the workplace and home and thing. Just one final question, Charlie, for you. Is it possible? Is there a sort of way that you could get a return on investment of putting a charging point in, for example, in your workplace or wherever it is? There is a way of sort of monetizing it, so that will help with some of those costs.
Yeah. So for workplace, typically the chargers that are being installed across workplaces come with some software. The software is normally an app. In the app, you can add your credit card and pay per charge. In the public space, the market's trying to move itself toward having chargers with contactless, so you can pay by credit card or Apple Pay or Google Pay. Again, as the owner of the charging station, you are able to dictate the price you charge to EV drivers. So, if you're thinking about installing charge points in your car parks, clearly I think your interest will be slightly different for work as opposed to a public car park. Work, a lot of charging is being given for free as essentially a benefit in kind. That's potentially a short-term benefit. Ultimately, companies won't be paying for employees' fuel forever. But again, I think a lot of the businesses that we deal with are giving away electricity for free at this point. In public, however, public charging is always, not always, but I'd say in absolutely most cases, a paid for service. And again, following on from what Bryn said, depending on where you charge, the price will be different. Typically, you pay a premium at the petrol forecourt than you do in a local authority train station car park. But the answer to the question is yes. Charging is a investment which provides a return. I think as a council or as businesses in the local area looking to invest in infrastructure clearly is the right thing to do. I think it's a long-term investment. So if you're looking at making a short-term return, it's not the play. If you're thinking about 10 to 15 to 20 years, then of course EVs are coming. They're coming quickly. There's not much of a proven business model because clearly where we've been is not where we're heading. However, there are plenty of investors, private investors, who are investing in infrastructure with the aim of making a return on investment. So, look, it's an opportunity. I think our advice would be just to really think through where you're installing this equipment and really go back to basics around how are people using EVs, where are they charging? If they've got off-street parking, their preference would be to charge at home because it's much more convenient and cheap. But clearly not everyone has the luxury of an off-street parking spot. So there will be needs for inner city charging. And I think clearly between Engage, Marston's and EO, we're able to help advise on, is it a good idea or not?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Charlie. Again, a quick question there from Hazel. The average cost of home charger fitting, Bryn's put his prices on there. It cost him £800. There was a £500 grant. I think those grants are still there. He says I think they're now £350 for a 7 kilowatt charger, which I think is current with that. But there are also other grants available, aren't there? For workplaces as well. There certainly used to be 12 months ago, and those are all available as well. So again, these things are well worth. It's one of those. It's like anything, isn't it? Any sort of major purchase always do your research, always ask the experts and things. And obviously, if you're thinking about doing this in a sort of work or home context or whatever, by the work that we're doing with Engage EV, we can put you in touch with people that have got the answers for this and help you along the way. So we can put you in touch with people that have got the answers. And again, the clean air zone will be coming in some way, shape or form. Petrol and diesel will be being phased out. This isn't something that may happen. This will happen and is already happening. And I know a couple of years ago, and again, the Chamber started to look at this in some seriousness. We ran a series of events with TFGM where people could come along and try, electric vehicles for themselves if they were thinking about getting one. Obviously, in the current circumstances, we can't do that anymore, but obviously we are looking to get those type of events up and running again as quickly as possible. So hopefully we can use Engage and the experts there to help with some of that as well. Okay, so thank you very much, Sally. Thank you, Charlie, as well for sharing that. If anybody's got any questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll try and get round to them. Our next speaker is Will Taylor, who's one of the skills coaches that we've got at the Chamber. And he's going to be talking about the Young Person's Guarantee. Will, good morning.
Hi, Chris. Hi, thank you.
Excellent. So what is the Greater Manchester Young Person's Guarantee? I think we've mentioned it previously on a Chamber Live event some time ago, but things are up and running now, aren't they? But just to remind everyone, what is the Young Person's Guarantee?
Yeah, so just as a bit of a refresher, so in June last year, Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, appointed Diane Modal as the chair of a new youth task force to help develop the Young Person's Guarantee in Greater Manchester. So it was set up in response to the impact of the COVID-19 crisis, all around helping protect and progress the future of young people in the city region. The guarantee was designed to focus on 4 key areas. Those were keeping connected, staying well, preparing for transition into work and/or education, and reducing economic inequalities. So the theme of keeping connected centred around ensuring young people feel connected to opportunity and their community, removing any barriers through digital, transport, that sort of thing. Keeping well, obviously looking at health and well-being, making sure young people feel happy and secure, know where to get help if that's needed. Prepping for transitions, helping young people feel confident in their journey out of education and into employment, and reducing economic inequalities, all around making sure that opportunities are equal for all young people, that there's lots of good quality pathways and careers for young people across the whole region. Central to the guarantee was the Youth Advisory Group. So a core group of young people have consulted on these 4 areas and laid out a number of priorities that they want to see. And looking at reaching out to local authorities, public and private sector organisations, sort of key stakeholders across GM to commit to supporting these priorities.
Excellent. What's our commitment been to the Young Person's Guarantee?
Yeah, so our commitment is focused around one of the key priorities laid out by the Youth Advisory Group in the category of preparing for transitions into work. So young people felt that there wasn't enough support, or maybe wanted more support for those who are interested in working for themselves and starting a business. It's something I've seen myself as well. I'm not long out of uni studying music, and you can spend the years needed to develop the skills to perform a particular activity. For me, it was the cello, or other people it might be coding, marketing strategies, things like that. But the business skills can sometimes be left on the wayside a bit. So out of this, we've planned a series of events aimed at those 18 to 30 living in GM and wanting to start their own business, really. Themed around different sectors, recognising that some businesses might have different journeys into setting up than others, although maybe not. Maybe that's what we're seeing. It's all a very similar path. But we've had one around digital and tech, one around professional services and marketing, and we've got another lined up for arts and culture. So the runners sort of panel discussions with 4 successful entrepreneurs from the Northwest in these sectors, speaking on their own experiences. And I think that is particularly interesting. It's not just a textbook theory of how a business should work, but it's a lived experience, a personal journey that these people have been through, that they're still on, and an opportunity to get that, direct from the source, any tips, key highlights, maybe common mistakes as well, all useful advice for people who are wanting to take that plunge and get set up.
And it's so important, like you said, it's not theory. This is lived experience. This is coming, from people that have been there and been through that process and everything. And that's so important. I presume there's been some really good insights into entrepreneurship that's come out of those events so far.
Yeah, definitely. I've been taking notes myself, maybe because of you, Richard Branson or something. But no, I think there's been sort of two common themes for me that have felt really important in the events we've had so far. We've done the digital and tech and the professional services and marketing. So the first is making sure that there's a really clear set of mission and a set of values, sort of really knowing what it is that you're passionate about, what you want to deliver, and why you're doing it. You know, having that key focus will really help to just anchor the business and ensure you don't lose your way as you go a bit. I imagine it's easy to get sidetracked on different projects and events as they come up. So having that clear focus just to make sure you're always grounded in that original passion that you had, really, and keep up the momentum and the drive of the company. And the other one is just the sort of the importance of professional networks as well. I think entrepreneurship can sometimes look like a bit of a lonely road. You know, it's your little passion project, you're devoting all your time and energy to it, especially if you don't have a business partner. It's easy to be a little bit insular. But, you know, everyone on the panels has been saying about how much help and support they've received from others and given it as well. Not being afraid to ask questions on how other people work and get some, sharing some advice there. And it's something so central to the ethos of the Chamber as well, isn't it? You know, we're stronger together than we are apart. And our networking events, you can see those relationships forming and that support there.
Yeah, I guess that bit is so important, that personal contact and that connectivity is absolutely vital, isn't it? When is the next event, Will? And who have we got on the panel who's speaking?
Yeah, so the next event, it's Wednesday the 24th of March, so later this month, at 1:00. The focus of this one is arts and culture. So we've got some amazing guests lined up that I'm personally really excited to chat with, as well as hopefully it being a good session as well. We've got Maggie Clark, who's the director and founder at Extracts, an international outdoor arts consultancy. We've got Steve Mead, artistic director and founder of the Jazz Festival, Manchester Jazz Festival, which is the longest running music festival in Manchester. So a little fun fact there. We've got Joe Yi Chung, who is director and founder of Olympias Music Foundation. That's an award-winning music charity that works with communities across the city region to champion diversity in music. And finally, Anton Stevens, who is one of the co-founders and directors at Hidden Nightclub, amazing club in the city that, you know, plays host to internationally acclaimed artists, and where I'm hopefully going to be heading in June once we're allowed out for a big party. So, you know, it's going to be a great event, quite a broad range in terms of that sector, and hopefully really useful. And there's more info and registration on our website, so do check it out. And any questions, just get in touch.
That's super. And such a great cause and a great theme of activity there as well. And again, you know, bringing young people through and putting those networks and key connections in place and the ability to listen to experts in these particular fields, I think is so important. And whether that's virtually and hopefully at some stage we can start to have real events again in person. It's important that we carry on and focus on those people. There is a link in the chat that's just gone through to the next event. If anybody is interested, they can click on that. So, Will, thank you very much. Keep up the great work. And it sounds like an absolutely fantastic piece of work you're leading on for the Chamber and for the young people in Greater Manchester. Well done. Our final speaker today is Subra, our head of research, and it would be completely remiss, bearing in mind that we've got the budget tomorrow, that we didn't have a quick chat with Subra about that. So good morning, Subra.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone.
Excellent. We've heard a lot of speculation and rumours about what may or may not be in the budget tomorrow. It's quite important, isn't it? Any budget is important, isn't it? But now where we are with the whole sort of economic cycle, we've got the roadmap underway now from a couple of weeks ago. It was launched last week, and the key dates now coming out, the different phases for reopening and things like that. Would you say this budget is probably more important than any that's gone before?
I would say that, and I would say that for two reasons. One is, of course, that this is the first budget after Brexit. And we shouldn't, in the midst of discussion on COVID, we shouldn't forget the fact that we are no longer part of the EU, and we have this trade agreement that is in place, which is having some problems, as colleagues in our international team would tell us. So that's one reason why it is a particularly important budget. And the second reason is, of course, that it is coming in the midst of good news about the vaccination rollout. We have had the roadmap announcement last Monday. And in various ways, there is a little bit of optimism now coming back into the economy and coming back amongst businesses. But as the Prime Minister said last Monday, this is not the time to pull the rug. So we want to see a very clear signal about continuity in the support measures that the Chancellor has announced over the last 12 months. And if support measures are withdrawn too soon, I think this will be a break budget. But clearly what we want to see is that this should be a make budget where, the Chancellor sets out a vision for post-Brexit Britain. What are our ambitions in relation to net zero? What are our ambitions in relation to future international trade arrangements and so on?
Yeah, I think that's important. I like that phrase. It should be a make budget rather than a break budget. It's a really, really good way of looking at it. What are the sort of things? I mean, obviously, like I said, there's been, as ever with any sort of government announcement now, if you want to know what's going to be said at a particular time by a minister, just look in the papers the day before. I mean, there's been stuff all over the place around what may or may not be said. What are you expecting to see or hear tomorrow from the Chancellor when he stands up to give his speech?
Okay, so first things first, in terms of the support measures, which is what I mentioned a little while ago, I think we are expecting to see some extension to the furlough scheme. We are hoping to see an extension to the VAT reduction for hospitality. The uplift to the universal credit, we have also heard that that's actually going to continue for 6 months. Now, that is extremely important. And the reason it is important is that it gives consumers power. And that consumer consumption is actually extremely important to revitalize the economy. And for people who are in these sort of lower income thresholds, that £20 a week actually is a significant amount. And that's why I say that even from a business point of view, actually extra income will fuel consumption. So we are expecting to see that. That's what, this is all based on press leaks, and clearly leaks are rumors. But some of them might indeed turn out to be true. A couple of other big things we are hoping to see based on the leaks. One is good, the other not quite. So the good thing is that we understand that there is going to be a significant focus on green economy and net zero growth. So we have the COP26 coming up later. So we are expecting to see the Chancellor announce the launch of a green bond for the UK. So this is to raise investment capital for investing in green technologies and emerging sectors which are connected with net zero. That's quite positive actually, because it's a statement of intent on that line. The other not so good thing is there have been numerous reports about the Chancellor actually wanting to either raise taxes to start dealing with the fiscal deficit, or at least hold the taxes. Now, the holding of corporation tax at the 19% it is now is a preferable option. We would not like to see any tax increases at this stage, and that is because many businesses have taken on debt. Many businesses have deferred, tax liability. VAT, for example, has been deferred. So then we are going to see a period where debt repayment becomes due, deferred tax liability has to be paid, and then on top of that, we have additional taxation. So the combination of that is not going to help business cash flow. So for that reason, we would like there to not be any increase in taxation at this stage. But the fiscal deficit has to be dealt with. That's absolutely clear, because that's a long-term plan. And I think in the short term, the ambition should be to grow the economy, get a strong recovery back, so that the other aspects which have not necessarily been focused on, leveling up, for example, start getting the focus that they do need to get.
And it's important, isn't it? Because now's the time that, if he gets this right tomorrow, it will, like you said, give a real boost to the economy just at a time when things are needing rebuilding and putting back into some sort of order and one thing and another. So I think it's quite important that he does get this right. There'll be a lot of people watching it tomorrow. We're obviously going to be doing our reaction in tomorrow's brief. we're going to keep track on things, aren't we, Subra? And one of the ways we do that is through the QES, and we have got the QES currently open, haven't we, on the Q1 survey. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that, and we've had some sort of early results already coming in, but we need more people to fill that survey in, don't we? Then we've got a much better view of what's going on in the local economy.
Absolutely. So we have had a good response so far. It is not enough. We still have 12 days in the fieldwork period. So all of you who are listening today, please, we will share the link via the chat function. Please do fill in the survey. We can keep track, because if we split the results by date, and we find that the results from, say, late afternoon tomorrow or the day after tomorrow are actually better than what we have had in the last few days, then we know that businesses are responding to the budget well. If it's the opposite, then we know that actually the Chancellor has failed to an extent to stimulate business confidence.
Okay, so all eyes will be on the QES. All eyes will be on the Chancellor, and we'll make sure, like I said, that we'll give our reaction to whatever comes out tomorrow afternoon and its impact on business through the brief, which will be in your inboxes around about 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, with our initial reaction on it. But again, word of warning, what usually happens is we make all the headline announcements, and then a couple of days later you get the accurate picture of what's announced and what the impact will be. But that's our job for the rest of the week, no doubt. Subra, thank you very much for giving us the benefit of your time, just giving us a few insights into that. That wraps up today's Chamber Live. We've covered all sorts of issues there, from young people, the budget, right through to electric vehicle and charging points. So I think that's probably quite a diverse and an eclectic mix of subjects as you could probably wish for in 35 minutes on a Tuesday morning. So thank you very much to our speakers. Just a couple of parish notices, as it were, really. This time next week, we've got our regular Chamber networking event. We have 1 week it's Chamber Live, next week it's Chamber networking, and we're going to be running that through for the foreseeable future. And who knows, by the end of the year, we may be able to do this sort of stuff face to face and actually sat in a room together. We'll still have people being able to dial in, but it'd be real to do it with a room full of live people instead of everyone's just appearing on screen, as good as that is. So Chamber networking next week. Next Chamber Live is on the 16th of March, and our QES event takes place on the 26th of March as well. So if people do really want to hear what's happening in the Greater Manchester economy, we'll have a look at what the budget says and impact and all the rest of it. That's on the 26th of March. Look out for what we're doing for International Women's Day next week. And if you want to get in touch with us about anything you've heard about or something you just want to ask about the Chamber, the email is benefits@gmchamber.co.uk. There's just one thing I just want to finish on today. A bit of news. It was launched last week, but in previous Chamber Lives, we've done a little bit around the Chamber being a kickstart gateway. So in other words, it's for young people looking to get into work, 6-month placements, and we've been doing an awful lot of work, hundreds of businesses, hundreds of young people looking at trying to get them into the world of work. We've had our first Kickstarter placement actually starting and agreed in the last couple of days, and it's a guy called Thomas, who's going to be a trainee productive operative at Pearl Window Systems. So it's been some time coming, but we've actually got a young person there taken on by a company, Pearl Window Systems, and actually into work, which I think is a really, really good piece of news, and it's something we should be celebrating. So these things do happen. When we talk about them, they sometimes take a bit of time to come through, but they do happen, and we do some good. And that is, again, all down to the fabulous people that we've got in membership, in business here in Greater Manchester. So if anybody is interested, we are still open. If people want more information, we can still help people out with that as well. So it's absolutely superb news. Nice bit of news to end the day on. Thank you very much once again to all our speakers today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.